Hi, my name is Paige Braden Cool, and I'm a PhD student here in the Neurobiology of Aging lab at TCU. And today I will be discussing a behavioral task that is integral to our research in looking at anxiety-like behavior in mice. We use the ElevatedZero maze, which is a maze on a platform with 2 enclosed quadrants and 2 open quadrants. We measure the amount of time that the animal spends in the enclosed quadrants in comparison to the open quadrants, because animals typically don't like wide open spaces, and thus if a mouse spends more time in the enclosed quadrants of the maze, that indicates that they are demonstrating increased anxiety-like behavior. This monitor, labeled with Noldus EthoVision, is what we use for the ElevatedZero maze, and you can turn on the computer here. When you click on the EthoVision XT7 application, you'll see experiment settings. Usually a graduate student will already have your trials set up in EthoVision, but you can double check that you have the correct animals listed in your experiment by going to Trial List. As you can see, we have plenty of experiments that we have already conducted, so these animal IDs say acquired, and then we have some that are planned. You can add animal IDs from your animal list here, and you can also add trials by clicking on this button. And so we have a few trials pre-planned for today's experiment. Now we want to check the arena settings to make sure that all of our zones are set up properly. And as you can see, a graduate student has already set up these zones. We have 2 outer zones and 2 inner zones. And we measure the amount of time that the animal spends exploring the outer zones in comparison to those inner zones, as more time spent in the outer quadrants indicates that the animal is exhibiting less anxiety-like behavior. During the testing process, you will be working with a partner. One of you will be working at the computer to start the program, and one of you will be an animal runner. The animal runner will bring the animal into the room and set it here on the platform in this open quadrant facing the closed walls. And the animal will be given 5 minutes to freely explore. During that time, you may be conducting hand scoring and making sure that everything is working properly on the computer. So when it's time for you to actually acquire the data, you will click on acquisition. And when you click on acquisition, although our current video source is not working and it's not installed, this will usually be installed, and you will see a screen that has the ElevatedZero maze here, and you'll click up here on acquisition control. This will usually be a green dot. And when you click here, it will start your recording. And so it will be set up to record for 5 minutes. And at the end of the session, you can click on this red square button right here, and it will end the testing session. And in between those testing sessions, the animal runner will send the animal back to its home cage, while the other student will be working in the room to clean the maze and prepare for the next animal. Thank you for watching this video. Prior to running the behavioral task, we need to do a few things in the room. First, we're going to use a white noise generator. We usually keep that in our other behavior room, but you can bring it in and turn it on. Additionally, we have different lighting for this behavioral task, and we have indicated that the ElevatedZero lighting is correct if you just turn on the switch and keep it here. And during the test, we're actually going to turn off the lights in the room. Hi, so this is our ElevatedZero maze, and we use this behavioral test to assess for anxiety-like behaviors. We have 2 closed quadrants and 2 open quadrants, and when the mouse is placed onto the maze, we measure the amount of time it spends within the closed quadrants in comparison to the time it spends in the open quadrants. Prior to running the test, we are going to be pulling this curtain back to ensure that the light from the computer does not come onto the ElevatedZero maze. So make sure that you do that before running the test. And when you bring the animal into the room with the transport box, you'll remove the lid and gently set it on a table and place the mouse into the ElevatedZero maze such that the mouse is facing one of the closed quadrants. Following testing, remove the animal from the ElevatedZero maze gently by its tail and place it back into the transport box, cover it with a lid, and return it back to its home cage. After returning the animal to its home cage, come back to the room to clean the ElevatedZero maze with Quadratop wipes, and you can gently clean around the maze and make sure that you carefully clean the walls of the enclosed quadrants.